Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to Circle Conversations, a podcast held with intention and rooted in presence. I'm Ariel, and this space is brought to you by a Create Space, where creativity is honored as a sacred, evolving practice. Today's episode is centered around collaborative canvases, the power of creating together. Today, I am joined by someone who is usually behind the camera and helping these episodes come to life with the lighting and the sound. And yeah, today he is in front of the mic, and I'm really, really excited. On top of helping putting these episodes together, he also has years of experience in the film industry. So I feel like he is the best person to talk to for today's topic. But yeah, this is Chris. If you want to do a short little intro.
Hello, my name is Chris. Sitting across from the love of my life, Ariel. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'll just say she's my best friend in case you just want to cut for that. This is my first time being on camera. I'm usually a behind the camera person, so I'll do my best to take in all the feedback I've seen from the other side of the lens.
Mm-hmm. What all do you do behind the camera?
I'm a bit of a Swiss Army knife when it comes to film, so I do a little bit of everything, whether it's like operating cameras, DPing, editing, color grading, lighting, doing sound. I've done a wide gamut of different roles and capacities in film.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about today's topic?
I feel good now that we're starting. We just did one heck of a setup for the past couple hours, just trying to get everything set up here, which was making me a little nervous as we were getting behind schedule. But I feel good, Again, I'm sitting across from my best friend, so how can I be too nervous? It's a safe space, safe environment. You did a really good job of setting that up and cultivating that.
Thanks. Every episode has been different for the intro and outro because I'm filling things out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I drafted a new one today. So we're going to try this one out. Before we jump in, let's take a moment to settle in together. Whether you're starting your day or winding down like we are in this recording, take a deep breath with us to be present in your body and open up space for creativity to flow. So we're going to take a few moments. I'm going to stand up. We're going to take 2 deep breaths at your own pace. Hi.
Hey,
Thank you for being here.
thanks for having me.
My first question. What have you learned from collaborating with other creatives?
That's a good question, especially for the topic. I feel like I've learned how to be open-minded when taking in feedback. One of the things that was kind of interesting when I started with film is that I felt like I had to learn how to do everything because I came from like being like a solo operator. Like in high school, I was shooting my own little projects, or honestly being a photographer is really how I started. And so with photography, oftentimes like you are the solo creative. And so once I got into college and I started doing more film projects, which film is inherently like a collaborative art form, you start realizing that one, you have to take in feedback from other people, which I didn't really have trouble with, like being open-minded to other ideas, but also just seeing that when working with other people and taking in other ideas, it's not really so much of a compromise where you're having to let go of your art. It's something where you're being exposed to so many more ideas. It's like you're crowdsourcing brilliance, in my opinion. So for me, coming into like collaborating with others on the film side, it has allowed me to allow my own work and my own like experiences to grow. I get to learn from other people, see what they're doing, and how they approach different problems. So yeah, you may have to repeat your question in case I
No, I
didn't
think you
answer it
answered
exactly.
it perfectly. What I'm hearing is there's a lot of like camaraderie and like brainstorming and teamwork. And I'm curious, is that a part that you love about film, or is that something that like you discovered and you adjusted, but like Like, how was that process for you going from photography to working in the film industry? And then also, how is that like a bonus, I guess, like when you're working on set, like having that, knowing that that's always there?
It's not a bonus for me, it's what makes it for me. So I think community and friendship is like a huge part of like what makes us humans. And so I found after like looking at other friends who are in different industries or even my parents, people who just I wouldn't call them standard jobs. I would
Yeah,
call them
standard
static
jobs.
jobs versus like dynamic jobs like film. So with static jobs, you kind of have the same core team that you work with. It's the same thing day in and day out for the most part. You know, obviously there's variances here and there. But with film, you're with an entirely different crew half the time because there is no like set staff. It's all freelance. So
Hmm.
you're mixing and matching. You're meeting new people, working with people who you haven't seen in a while, who have gone on and learned new things. And so when I say that social dynamic really makes the film industry for me, it's because you really do get to like get exposed to so much and meet so many interesting people.
Hmm.
Because my, I guess, teammates or staff, it changes every single job. It's a whole new set of like 20 people. And over time, you know, you start to meet these people and recognize them and then like work with them consistently. But I really like that social aspect of getting exposed to so many different creatives who can bring so much uniqueness to the table. So for me, I wouldn't say it's a bonus working with other people. I would say it's one of like the core defining things that made me enjoy film over photography is that I'm not just the leader in the seat that's like having to come up with all the ideas. I get to be a part of like a class project is what it
Yeah.
feels like, where instead of me thinking I have to be the best or even being having an ego and thinking I am the best, you get to humble yourself and go, all right, I'm going to choose to be the best at this thing, at least on this job. If I'm the cinematographer, cool. I'm over camera and lighting, but I also have a lighting, like a gaffer underneath me who is super dope at lighting. Like that's what they eat, sleep, and breathe. So likely they're much better than me. So I may have my rude ideas, but then they can come through and enhance it, blow it out the water, show me something new I never thought of. And even outside of my department, you take like the production designer or the director who are bringing so much other things to this one picture. So instead of one brain trying to make this story or this image beautiful, you have somebody who is a production designer who all they do is art. You have somebody who is a gaffer who all they do is lighting. You have your camera operators who all they do is focus on framing. And it just is so amazing when all these like experts come together to make one thing.
Hmm. I love just seeing you light up talking about
Yeah.
it. I think it's funny that you said like a class project. Have you ever been on set when it's like a really bad class project and everybody, not everybody, but there's that one or two people like on set and they aren't equipped or don't have the passion that maybe other people will have on set? Like how has that shown up, if it has, and how have you like pivoted through it, or how has the team pivoted through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of speaks to two different scenarios. There's the
Hmm.
one where somebody maybe just doesn't have enough experience, and there's also the one where somebody doesn't have enough passion. And so there's different ways that you can address both. When it comes to an experience gap, I think that's something where not just myself, but other people try. This really depends on the type of crew you have, by the way, because some people are like, oh, you don't have experience, and they try to cast you out of there because, you know, professionals can be like, I only want to work with other people who are on the same par as me. And on some jobs, that's necessary, especially when there's a lot on the line to where if somebody didn't properly represent that they don't maybe know as much, it can put the production at risk of like running behind schedule, not getting the creative that we had in mind on the treatment. But I would say that's a slim few jobs. There's a lot of jobs where it is an opportunity where as a community you can kind of like lift somebody up, you can offer that support, especially if like while you may be in a different department, if you have seen a lot, you might be able to like kind of cover for them or like give them tips and advice. So I've done that quite a bit because I've just run the gamut of different roles on set. So then when I see an area that's lacking, it's not about coming in there and like swinging my name around, telling anybody what to do. It's, you know, you try to subtly like, hey, you know, is this something that you can use some help in or support in? You know, you offer tips in a very respectful and polite way. So that way nobody feels, you know, ego bruised or like, they don't belong necessarily just because they're trying to figure it out. But usually that works better when they carry a certain sense of humility as well, and they're open to having that kind of support. So yeah, usually, you go over there, and you try to provide tips or cover, see if you can, like if it's maybe they just need help moving some stands or monitors around or whatever, or they need a little extra idea on the lighting side if they're kind of fresh at G&E work. When it comes to the other side, when it's somebody that has no passion, man, that's a tough one, because that's the I don't care crowd, and that's kind of who I had struggled the most with working with, is people who just aren't passionate about what they do. Maybe they're only there for a check, or they used to be passionate about it and they clearly are over the industry and they're ready to get on. That, man, it goes against, I guess, who I am as a person and kind of like how I operate. And so at that point, you're just kind of doing what you can to save the production. You're not doing what you can to save the person. You're trying to do
Yeah.
what can I do to save the production? Is there ways in which we can work around this? But I mean, I can't really say it's happened too often, to be honest. Typically, the people that make it are the ones who care about what they do, at
Yeah.
least at the level of productions that I work on.
Can you think of a collaboration that really shaped how you approach your art now?
Let me think. No, I mean, there's some from you and I'm probably gonna pull from, but I was just trying to think of my career. Have there been any other collaborations that have shaped it in a very specific way? So a collaboration that has shaped my art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not doing this just because we're on the podcast, but I think that some of the experiences you and I have had working together and learning to work together are some of the ones that are more notable for shaping the way that I approach art and collaborating with others. Um, so far, we've done a number of photo shoots together, and we've also done this podcast together for 2 episodes now. And there's been moments where I think we've always had the same goal and intention, but even with how much love we have for one another and wanting the best for one another, we've found ways to step on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily me to you, so that's something I've had to learn, is how to be better at supporting someone that you really are, you really believe in and want the best for, without also taking over what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And so for me, because like film and then lighting are two big things about what I've done for years, and there's things that I've really like am passionate about and sunk a lot of time into. When it came time to do, we did a photo shoot for your headshots. I don't know if we end up using those photos in the end or not, but that was a project where we had a really limited amount of time, and I trusted myself more than I trusted us as a team. And so it caused me to kind of take over, and hearing how that affected you as an artist and how it made you not feel like you were a collaborator on something that was for you, and also kind of not really feel respected. I don't know if you ever really voiced it as such, but when reflecting about it, I can see how that might make you feel like you weren't respected, like your experiences, because you're a photographer, so you know lighting and you've done this before I ever came into the picture. And so that was something where I was like, yeah, I don't think I would like that either. If it was somebody that, yeah, I really want to work with them and I respect what they're bringing to the table, but at the same time, by bringing on this, not to be egotistic, but I guess heavyweight player, they're kind of erasing me a little bit or pushing me in the back seat, all in the name of supporting me. But like, is it really my thing anymore? Are we really
Mm-hmm.
collaborating? Um, and so I feel like that experience, and then like the wrap up conversation we had to discuss it, has shaped me and like helping me realize that there are better ways to support and help, someone grow, or at least their idea grow, than coming through and feeling like you need to save the day and be the only player, because we end up
Mm-hmm.
failing that shoot. And it's
Yeah.
because
And
I didn't have all the answers.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I think a part of it too was it was seen like it was like a production and like it needed to get done. And in order for it to get done, things needed to be perfect and they need to be perfect, no, like regardless of the time frame. And I also find creativity fun and
Mm-hmm.
like creating fun. That's what I meant to say, creating fun. And so for me, I feel like when I'm collaborating with someone, I want it to feel lighthearted and fun and collaborative. And if it's collaborative, but like it feels like we're solving a puzzle, like we're in an escape room, it's no longer fun for me.
Yeah. I think one of the things you said there too that also kind of points to like where I went wrong on that shoot is that I was treating it like a production when it was a photo shoot, which is something that you have a lot more experience with. So one of the things is that with like, sorry, cut that cough out.
Cut that, cut that, cut that.
Yeah, cut that.
Have you ever
I
seen?
never get sick.
Have you ever
Never get sick.
heard the Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast? That's their thing. They're like, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut
It
it.
doesn't get cut.
Nope.
So one of the things that's different between photo shoots and video productions is that with video, you typically have a load in period, sometimes a prep day, which is really nice. But when you're loading in on the actual shoot day, you'll have 1 to 2 hours to just focus on setting up lights and really dialing that in before you guys get shooting and then start making micro adjustments from there. Because you're shooting for like a 10 to 12 hour day. Meanwhile, with photo shoots, or at least the type of photo shoot we were doing, we had, I think, 2 hours max for the entire shoot.
But we also had free assistance for lighting.
Yeah.
And I had a mood board. And so the goal was to collaborate also with them, show them what we wanted. And
we did do that. They weren't quite, getting the message or like the intent.
I will give you that. They weren't. But normally, if it's someone that I know, they know what they're doing.
Right. So with that one, we had 2 to, I think, 3 hours, because I know we extended it by an hour just because we were going over on time. And so with that one, you really do have to be a lot faster and more decisive. And
it was a late start as well.
Late start. And so with that one, because of how much limited time, I was like, all right, I think I know how to lead this ship the best. I can light this thing. I can put this stuff together. And so I kind of cut you out there, like you were, because you're the subject. And so for me, I was like, I thought you were constantly asking to see the frame and to see like what the test shots, how they were coming out. Like every single time I would do a test shot to adjust things, because I thought you were just trying to see how you looked, or maybe just like hop in there. And I was like, hey, why don't you just be the subject? Let me kind of dial this part, because, you trusted me to be the photographer in that situation. But it just wasn't really looking the way that we had talked about in the mood board, because like even the setting was a little different than what we had planned for. And so I think you would have been able to better contribute and even say like, okay, how can we compromise? Or just what from your experience might be a good solve for this. And I think if I had understood that that's where you were coming from, instead of just like trying to, I don't want to say micromanage, but just like keep peeking at the frame, just like, oh, how do I look?
Also,
what's going
give
on?
You grace, because that was the very first collaboration we ever done.
Yeah.
And like
it was a rough one.
That was the very first one we've ever done together. But I will say, some of the best work that I've done was when we had 10 minutes left, and we just had fun with it.
It's kind of what we did afterwards.
Yeah.
Once we left the actual studio, just in the hallways of the building, we got a pretty fun shot that I thought was like my highlight, my favorite of it.
Like I love
very spontaneous.
But the biggest compliment that I get from clients is the energy and the vibe that we create together. Like having a great experience and not just a great photo makes my heart feel full. What qualities make someone a good creative collaborator in your eyes?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a great one. Some of the qualities I feel make someone a good creative collaborator, at least for me, is a certain sense of humility, open-mindedness, decisiveness, and if I had to give it one last quality, I guess just the willingness to experiment and try things. There's a time and place to kind of stick to the rule book or stick to like what has been planned beforehand. But sometimes those early plans just don't work, especially like considering tonight when we were trying to set up the lighting here. We had a plan that we had talked through pretty thoroughly. But then once we put it into practice, it just wasn't working, because you were going to be sitting across from me over at the counter there. And it's kind of a dead zone for lighting. And this is, a podcast and a project we're doing with kind of limited resources, limited lighting. And so I just couldn't really, in a natural way, fill in the light over there. So the plan didn't work. But through being open minded and talking through it, we were able to work together and experiment with new ideas, like new lighting plans that, we tried them out. Some of them worked and helped a little bit, some didn't. But then you were like, okay, well, what if I just sit at the counter with you? And, something so simple, but just staying open minded to things like that allowed us to actually finally start getting shooting. Um, but just even with other positions or other, situations, like when you're on a film set, I really love the directors that are like, hey guys, I know I'm the director here, but like there's no bad ideas. Don't feel like you can't contribute something. I think there's kind of an unspoken agreement that like, hey, don't go overboard with that. But at the same time, like if you really in your heart feel like there's something that you're seeing that can enhance the project or fix a problem that maybe we don't know about yet, you have the safe space to speak up about that because you're doing it from a place of love is assumed. Like you
Mm-hmm.
want this project to be good.
Yeah.
You want to protect this project. So the directors that I think cultivate that safe space and that environment, that's something that really says like that's a good collaborator. That's somebody who sees this as like we're not just minions or the crew. They're not just, robots there to do your bidding. They're people that are there to work with you and support you.
Mm-hmm. How do you navigate creative differences when you're on a project?
Hmm. Okay. How do I navigate creative differences on a project? It depends on where we're at in those creative differences. Is this in pre-production? Is this in production? Or is this in post? Because they're all kind of handled a little differently. I think pre-production is the best time to have creative differences because you can take your time to walk through all the different ideas and you can kind of go through a vetting process, I want to say, where you can kick ideas back and forth or like, bring in other people who are a part of the project to like talk through it. So say it's the director and the DP. For the record, the director always, gets final call on these creative differences. Like I feel like you can listen to it, but at the end of the day, like it's their root vision and idea. So if the
Yeah.
director is like, I hear you, I respect what you're saying, what you're pitching, but we're still going to do my way. It is what it is. Like, that's what hierarchy is there for. It kind of helps with those situations. But say it's something where they're not like trying to call in like the I'm the head honcho card. They just maybe have two different ideas for an approach for a shot that both feel valid, but this kind of like we're in a tiebreaker situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's where producers come in. You can talk to producer or just other people who are part of the team, like the production designer. Those are times where it's a little less pressure and a little less stress to try to work through creative differences. But I think there's always give and take, and you have to know which things to fight for and which things to let go. So, say you are the director of photography on a project, and you do have an idea that you think is really dope, and you pitch it to the director, and they're just not quite seeing it, or they just don't fully believe in it. It's choosing your battles, because ultimately you're there to serve the project's vision, which is their vision. It's not You're not there to make cool shots or pretty shots. You're there to like help this director get their story out onto the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So creative differences in that point, it's just knowing like how to humble yourself and go, yes, this is cool, but I trust them. I trust what they have to, what they're bringing to the table. And then there's those times where deep in your heart, like this is what you got to do. Like this is what you really need to push for. You believe in it. Yeah, you may have the final call, but I'm gonna fight like hell until they say, "Yo, drop it." Um, I think it's important to like really push for it and have those conversations, even if they get a little testy. Like advocate for your ideas. To where if they do kill it at that point and say, no, we're not going for that direction, you can respect it and know that you at least gave it your all with that idea because it was something that you believed in and it wasn't something you were doing for ego's sake.
Yeah.
When it comes to production, that's where creative differences can be really challenging, especially when things aren't working because now you're on the clock. You don't really have the luxury of let's revisit it tomorrow. Let's talk about it later.
Yeah.
So I feel like, at that point, how would you handle it or navigate it? It really is a case by case basis. I think most of the times you got
Have
it
you ever been in that situation?
on set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. There's been times where I really have tried to pitch an idea, like whether it's like the way that we cover a scene and perhaps a director or DP just doesn't fully see it, like they can't visualize it, or they're really attached to maybe what they had in their mind beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's ways, you can sneak in shots that then later in post allow you to put together that idea you had, whether it's like, let me just move the camera here real quick, grab
Yeah.
this, and then you have it if you want it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
cannot use it if you don't want to use it. They use that kind of language a lot. It's like, hey, we got enough time, we can squeeze it in. Um, sometimes it works out, they use it in post, sometimes they don't. Um, I think when time is of the essence, everybody's worried about like making the day. Again, I really think it's about like what serves the project best.
Mm-hmm.
And if the film isn't going to suffer because this idea didn't happen, then sometimes you just got to let it go.
What about in post?
In post?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I feel like as an editor, because I do editing and color grading. Um, I think you got to fight for your ideas, man. If I'm being honest, I feel like that's what they bring you on there for, is to have these other perspectives. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they've been with this project from the very beginning, from the script through production, and they kind of get married to a certain idea. And it's not that idea is wrong, but when they're bringing you on, it's because they kind of want that third set of eyes that is more objective, um, and not as like attached to like
Yeah.
pre-thought of ideas. So I think when it comes to creative differences there, again, the director's always going to get final cut. That's just how the thing goes. But if you pitch an idea while you guys are in an editing session together and they're like, nah, I don't really care for that, or that's not really what I want to do. It's like, all right, cool. But then, when they're gone, you can do a little test cut, test it out yourself, send it to them, and they go, oh, word, I see how that's working in practice. That shit's fire. Print that, like put that down. And then it's like, all right, cool, you got it in there, you advocated for it, you show how it is that you saw it. Because sometimes they really got to see it just to
Yeah.
believe it.
So when you are put in that position, when you are fighting for it and they're not for it, and then you just put it together anyways, like what's going through your mind? What are you feeling? Like, is it kind of like, okay, they'll take it or they won't? Or is it like, do you feel like you're anticipating at any point? And then also like how rewarding does it feel like if when they like what you pitched and they just had to see it, and then you not only did you pitch it and they couldn't see it, but you put it together and you brought it to life and then they love it. Like how does that also?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the nature of what it is I'm about to do and present. Because there's some choices that I do that are really experimental, where I'm like, they're either gonna love it and like be like, yo, this is why we hired you, or they're gonna fucking hate it and be like, bro, this is why we hired you. So there's those moments where it feels a little risque and you feel like, you're really putting yourself out there. But I mean, I feel like that's art. And so, you just kind of expect them to understand that and not like, oh, go ahead, you're good. Um, be vulnerable with like some of your different ideas where it might be whack, or it might be like, yo, I didn't even think about that. Like, good shit. But it's also somewhere it's just like take it or leave it. You try not to get too emotionally attached to certain things, especially like more minor decisions where maybe they really wanted you to start the scene off on a wide shot and then go for close-ups, but instead you started off on some insert of who knows what, and then you get context by pulling out to the wide shot later in the scene. It's things like that. They're not like radical, but they really do shape the emotions and feeling
Yeah.
behind the scene. If the director is giving you his like call outs for like how he kind of wants the scene to be approached, and he pitched it the first way, and then you try the other way where you come in on the scene through these close-ups or whatever, just something different. Pretty much doesn't matter what the specifics are, things like that. It's like, let's take it or leave it. I'm not about to like put my whole heart and emotions into like, if they're like, nah, stick with what I asked for, please.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm. Has there ever been a time when conflict led to unexpected creativity or growth?
Mm. Yeah, there is. I tell them this what feels like every year, every other year, mainly because it was just an experience that really shaped the way, I approach, I guess, collaboration and working with others on set. My buddy Matthew Antonino, we were doing a job. Well, for the record, Matt and I, we've been working together since college. We met, I want to say, my sophomore year, and he brought me out to my first commercial. And then from there, I just felt like we had such a dope bond on like working on like back to back projects while we are in college. Like it was a great jumpstart into our careers working together. But during that time while I was still in school, I ended up getting a job working on a union feature. I did I want to say it was Ant-Man and the Wasp first in camera department, and then Venom also in the camera department. And doing movies like that, I don't want to say that people are anal, because they're doing it for a reason. They're, you got to be efficient, but it really puts this kind of militant workflow in you where it's like no slacking, no, like, be on the job. Like, everybody's like kind of almost like they got to stick up their butt a little bit, because there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot of money on the line, limited time, and I'm doing second unit on these things, which is where you're doing all the action scenes and stunt scenes and explosions. Sometimes you really do only have one shot for this, and they expect it to run like clockwork. Like,
Yeah.
if they say this shot is shooting at 12:30, all 13 cameras that were covering this big stunt action scene with, they better be rolling and ready to go, and not like, oh crap, let me change that battery. So everybody's kind of like on their P's and Q's. And so because of that, like, there's a lot of niceties that are stripped away. You're really kind of like, yo, I need this now. Or like it's just to the point. And there's not really a whole lot of room for error. So that kind of got grilled into me on that set. And so then when I stepped away from that.
And that was like your first like big project,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was. Yeah.
So that's like setting.
Yeah, it set the tone for me. I was like, all right, cool. Like, because I got chewed out on that production a couple of times. And I was like, all right, I don't want to get my ass chewed out like this again. So let me like rise up and be better and be all like a military type, operator here. So then I take that, what I consider professional experience, onto the other sets I were doing, which are like smaller tier commercials or things where you have a crew of maybe 5 people. And don't get me wrong, like, I now know a lot from doing those jobs. Like, I know how to be efficient in certain ways and how to, flip the camera. We're going from tripod to Ronin, like the gimbal, in record time and everything. But I will say it took my fun, lighthearted self out of that a little bit. It made me to where I was kind of more like, yo, I need this now. And I wouldn't say I was rude, but I just wasn't really fun to work with. And Matt had seen me before that that transition where I kind of like changed the way I approach working with other people. And then he saw me after. So, we, again, had been doing multiple jobs together. And there was one like super fun travel job we were doing for Verizon. And, I thought we were having a good time on it, but we were both camera assistants on that under 2, I guess, more experienced camera operators that are flown in from New York. And whenever we were kind of like, we're each supporting our own operator, but whenever we'd all kind of be crossing paths and have like swap gear or do anything, I was kind of like, I don't want to say, what's the right word for it? I was really on him because he was kind of slipping up a little bit, or just like he was being a little lax about certain things, which really weren't the biggest deal in the world. But for me, I was like, oh crap, you're gonna make us look bad in front of these people. It's like, hey Matt, like, bro, we just asked for a battery 10 minutes ago. Like, can we get this? Or I don't really remember what the situations were, but things that kind of made him not look the sharpest on his end, because that just wasn't the kind of experience he had. He had experiences where they were a little bit more relaxed and chill, like homie short films and things like that. So what we really need to do was kind of meet in the middle. But anyway, to get to the point of the story, later at the hotel room, because this was a travel job, he, pulled me aside and he was talking to me and he was like, hey man, I think you're really talented. And like, I love what you bring to these projects. That's why, I keep recommending you and bringing you on. Cause he was the one that was bringing in most of these jobs and just like throwing my name into the hat to also come aboard with him. But he's like, if our work is going to be this way, I don't think I'm going to want to keep working with you. Cause it's just not really fun anymore. And I listened to him when he said this, and I really took it to heart because, one, I didn't realize I was making him feel that way. Because I was never trying to like put him down or make him look bad so that way I looked better. I really was just trying to like be the ultimate crew member and just on top of things. But I could also just kind of see the sadness in his face because he's a really good friend. I can tell he wanted to work with me, but he was like, this just isn't really the vibe. So I really took that to heart. And ever since then, I kind of stripped away a lot of that like angsty energy to where, oh crap, if we're behind schedule, like I'm running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm like, okay, we're behind schedule. Like, we'll figure this out. Yeah. Because me running around stressed, heart beating twice as fast as it should be, it's not making me more efficient. It's not
Yeah.
making anybody else more efficient. In fact, it's just making it worse because now more mistakes are bound to happen because everybody's stressed out. So now the way I approach it is, one, I try to keep it always lighthearted. It doesn't matter how hectic or crazy the set is, whether it has anything to do with me or other people. I try to bring that calm energy to set. Like, you really can't rile me up or get me, sweating bullets. Like, I'm gonna still be efficient. If we're behind, I'm gonna make sure we get on track.
Hmm.
But what you're not gonna do is have me like yelling at people or
Yeah,
snapping at
yeah.
people, because like, who does that help? Because
Hmm.
now that person is like fumbling over stuff, dropping batteries. I'm like, bro, bring me the batteries. Now they're tripping over
Yeah.
themselves, dropping it. It's like, who is that helping? So I don't know. I'm a good friend now.
Yeah.
I'm a better friend on set.
Does Matthew know the story?
Yeah, I tell him all the time. I was like, bro, you saved my career. Because, like, I feel like I get hired by so many people because I have such a vast network, not because of the skills I have. Like, I'm good at what I do.
Hmm.
But also, like, I'm just fun to be around. Like,
Yeah.
when you hired me out, you know that it'll be relaxed. I'm gonna stay on top of things so we don't get in a stressful position. But if we do, I'm not gonna be sitting there like flipping out at people.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna figure it out. But yeah, I tell him every year, and he's always like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Man, I've told you that time and time again." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, you like kind of defined my career a little bit with like, it was a simple comment and feedback, but the feedback was very useful because I don't think it just applied to him."
Yeah. What helps you stay grounded and open during tense moments?
Um, what helps me stay grounded in tense moments?
Because you said that you bring a chill vibe even if things get tense, but what happens when you are tense? Tense. Like what keeps you grounded when you feel that showing up in your body?
That's a good question. A very emotionally aware question too, to even be able to answer it. Um, this is gonna sound like a slightly guyish answer. It's knowing that it's not that deep. And it's not about erasing or not giving strength to certain emotions. It's just that, say it's something set related, it's not like a personal life situation or something that really is that deep. It's somebody didn't do something the right way, and now, everybody has to deal with the consequences of it. Like, okay, I can think of a situation. I was working on a commercial and I was the DIT, so my responsibility is like to offload the media, make sure everything's backed up. So we shot almost the whole first half of the day and we were a little bit behind schedule. But the producers and ADs are like, yeah, we have a great plan to get us back on track. As long as we do everything right, like we can make this day. And I'm like, all right, cool. Or, we're all like, cool. That's the plan. And so I'm like, all right, let's swap the cards. Like, let me get the cards out of it so I can start dumping the media. And the AC, the camera assistant who's responsible for like swapping the media, he accidentally pulls the card out of the camera and he has the fresh card that's supposed to go in and he mixes them up. So he puts the card that he just pulled out back in the camera and then gives me an empty card. And then he formats the card that has all of the first half of the day's footage on it. That is a nightmare scenario, especially on something where you're behind schedule, where it is expensive because this is a commercial where you have like full crew, lots of lighting. Um, I guess I can say with the commercial, it was an Aflac commercial, so you have a puppeteer there doing these like duck
Yeah.
performances and having to get everything just right. Uh, so when I then plug the card into the computer, like I'm like, oh shit, you've got to be kidding me! Like this is bad. So I pulled, the camera assistant aside and, I alert him to the situation and I can see him immediately start sweating bullets. And I knew that the second this gets out, like, they might let him go or, it's just not going to look good because once you format a card, you really can't get the data back.
Yeah.
Um, but what I did was just kind of relax, be a good friend to him. Like, kind of, if everybody else is about to give you shit for this in a second, I'm not gonna be the one to do it. I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
be your safe haven, because like we all make mistakes. I've been there before. I've done that before on past productions, and so just remembering where you started, so that way you don't get too big headed or too, I guess, stuck in, I guess, what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
to where you kind of forget that, like, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has bad days where they really aren't on their best. Um,
It sounds like you're a good crew member But what happens when you feel like you fucked up and
Mm.
you are in that tense moment? Because is it as simple as you are sweating bullets and you just tell yourself it's not that deep? Or is there
Oh
something that
no,
helps
no,
you keep
yeah,
you
I can't be
grounded?
honest because my homies will see this and they'll like. It's been a rare few situations where you can tell I'm going through it, but they exist, and so I can't sit here and act like I'm all chill in every single environment. Um, I know where and how to let it out though,
Yeah.
but there's been times where like I've messed up something
Mm-hmm.
and I've been called out by it, whether like by a DP, like if I'm DITing and a DP is like, yo, what was that? Like that just we're behind, or like why are we not set up? Or trying to think of things I've been called out for. Um where was I? If I was like, moving something like that happened last month where I didn't get the call that like they had splintered away to go do like a remote shoot for a little bit. And then they came back to set like where we had all been set up, but I'm on another floor, just setting up a monitor for clients, and they're down there like Chris, for like 10 minutes, like trying to call for like me so that way they can get shooting because we're trying to wrap the day. It was some project where we had like T.I. on set, and so he does not like to wait. And so they couldn't find me. I finally come back to where the main set's like at, thinking I'm ahead of schedule, like, yo, where is everybody at? And then they're like, bro, finally, like, where you at? And the DP was like pissed. And so that was one where I had been crushing it all day before that because this was a DP I hadn't worked with in years, and like he's a rather high profile cinematographer, and so I was like, oh, I was just in my head after like, fuck, like this dude is not gonna want to work with me again. Meanwhile, again, been doing great all day before that. He's like, hey man, I really love these looks, or I really love what you're doing. Like everything's really efficient, and because there's one thing I had an assistant under me, and I just kept saying like, man, that was really bad. Like they would like we fucked up. He's like, bro, it's not that bad. Like I know, it didn't look good, but that doesn't overshadow all the work we did. And honestly, I couldn't really get over it. Like I kept doing my job, but
Mm-hmm.
it took just me going home, talking to you, uh, and then just again my friend who was the assistant on there just kind
Yeah.
of again backing me up, being like, bro, don't let that get to you. Don't let it shake
Yeah.
you. Um,
So for
so
you, would you say that you find groundedness in the people around you? Like you provide support to other people when they're in that situation, but when you're in that situation, you need that as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because we all have moments where we're not feeling our best, and it does affect our self confidence. Because I'm confident in what I do, but I wasn't confident in the job I had done at that point. When meanwhile, I really had crushed it all day. Before, minus this one situation where there was just a miscommunication on timing for things. I didn't have a walkie on me for somebody to call me because earlier in the day that nobody had like
Yeah.
went around passing out the walkies, which is usually what they do on set. So I think I just needed to be a little easier, like go take it a little easier on myself because I really started beating myself up.
Yeah.
And I think it was only because this was a DP I really wanted to work with because I was a really big fan of their work. And so I think I had put a lot of extra pressure on
Yeah.
myself that I normally don't carry to other sets. Normally, I'm cool as a cucumber because what's the worst that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really it. It's like realizing like what is the worst that can happen. So we get behind a little bit, or so things don't go exactly perfect. That's life. That's art.
Yeah.
So
What does community mean to you as an artist?
as an artist, community to me means support in both directions. I feel like I kind of spoke to it earlier, coming from photography where it really is, kind of isolating, to being in video where it's something where you're bringing together anywhere from 5 to 200 people just to make one piece of artwork. And then that's just on set. Then you have all the support when it comes to people like wanting to watch the content or,
Mm-hmm.
support it. For me, a big part of community when it comes to art or as an artist is just like support. So that's watching your friends' films or coming out for their short films, or when you're doing something, the same thing, it really gives you a system of feeling like you have confidence in what you're doing because again you have that support, like whether it's just viewership, people watching your things, or confidence in what you're creating because you're having people that you believe in come and help you out on that thing, or just support is in like, hey, I am about to do this podcast. I've never recorded a podcast before, and I know you have. Can I pick your brain on some of the things that you've done? Uh, and then getting like good actionable feedback that nobody's trying to charge you for it. Nobody's trying to like be crabs in a barrel to where, oh, I can't tell you about what I'm doing because I don't want you, competing with me. It's just, yeah, I want to see you win. I think one of the things I really enjoy about the community I'm in is it's a lot of people that just want to see you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has your sense of community evolved throughout your creative journey?
Well, over time, I feel like my network has just grown a lot with the people that I do find myself frequently working with. Um, and it's no longer like feeling like I'm coming on set to a bunch of strangers because eventually, it's a small town. You eventually do work with everybody and to kind of get to know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And now things start to feel a little bit more familial where when you come on set, it kind of feels like you're going to almost like a regular job where you're used to seeing people day in and day out. It's kind of like a welcome back kind of feeling like, oh, yeah, we were just together last week. Here we are again. So just it makes me feel a little bit more like I have my place, like both in life and then on these sets as far as like earning my way. Because when you're first getting started, you're working like with film. I mean, I guess this applies to other jobs. You always have like a range of ages, but when you're first coming onto a film set, you might be working with somebody who's been in the industry for like 20, 30 years. Meanwhile, you're fresh out of college, still trying to figure things out. And so you kind of feel like
You've been here for like
imposters.
20, 30 years, right? Like in the industry.
I'm only 45. Stop playing with me. I'm kidding. I'm 28 years old. Um, yeah, you kind of have this imposter syndrome, and you just don't necessarily feel like you belong. But over time, through you learn a lot. You kind of earn your way, and you feel more and more confident as you go. But also, you start working with the same people, and you have these stories and experiences with them that make you feel a sense of like familyness and like community. So when I say it's kind of evolved over time, like I feel like this is where I belong. I don't feel like I need to earn my space in film, or at least in Atlanta's film market. Like this is, I'm very
That's
much so
so
a part of it.
freeing.
Yeah. So that's why I have confidence when I go on these sets. Like I don't feel like I need to prove myself or prove my name.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Which
invited to be
is
there.
very rare, just also working in a city like Atlanta.
Hmm.
Like just to even have that feeling of like, I don't need to prove myself or,
Yeah.
yeah. In what ways do you see your work contributing to or reflecting that community?
A lot of community questions. Um, Well, I mean, one of the ways that I see it, contributing to, or I guess reflecting in that community is I've worked on a lot of short films in my time, especially over the past few years for good friends of mine, people who I've worked with for years in a variety of capacities. But a lot of these times, in as far as me supporting them in these roles, I was gonna say it's post, but it's actually a mixture of both. I'm usually on set as well, helping out. There's been a couple short films that I was able to be a part of that have gone on to film festivals, some of which I've gotten to attend, which is really nice. I could list them, but it's honestly too many to count at this point. But these are projects that I've done for free or just trading favors, with friends, and then seeing how it's been able to grow their careers and their opportunities. It's really made me feel accomplished in what I'm doing and like feeling like, okay, not every bit of value is monetary,
Yeah.
when it comes to contributing and supporting others. There are some ways in which you feel enriched and you get value out of it that isn't just like, through, hey, what can you cut me for this, for doing this
Mm-hmm.
thing? So it is, for example, like when those films go to festivals, it's like you attend. Like if I'm the colors, there's been a couple films now where because I color graded that whole short film for free and I did my best on it when it played, it looked beautiful in theaters, and now people are trying to connect and ask like, okay, who is that colorist? And then they're reaching out to me to then color something else via or be it a commercial or another film. So there's like so many more like long-term benefits that come out of it. But even then, it's still not why I do it. It's just
Yeah.
seeing like the love of the game, just seeing other people, I guess, reach that goal. I'm very much so a team player. And my friend Jeff told me about this. I think he had posted it on Twitter. And I don't know if he found it somewhere else or not, but he was saying like, when you're a part of a team, this is where you really got to put your ego to the side. The goal is to score. Like it's not for so the team grows. Like the goal is for
Yeah.
the team to score. And so if you got a team full of people who are all trying to be the one to get the touchdown, like who's passing the ball? Who's
Yeah.
who's blocking? Who's making sure that like you guys as a unit get to the finish line? But when you have like a group of people who are all very team oriented, and you see that somebody's closer to the finish line than you block for them, you pass to them, like you like, oh, you're closer. I'm gonna get you there, so that way you get ahead and you elevate all of us. So now, when future opportunities come around, you're in a better position, whether of power, money, opportunity, whatever, to then like help out and reach back. Versus me being like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like if it's not gonna be me in the director's seat, I'm not with it, or I'm not trying to support that. I guess to wrap up that answer, it's just I really enjoy seeing my homies win and seeing them, get further ahead and achieve their dreams. And they feel the same way about me. So I feel like with us all pushing each other ahead, we can get so much farther than we can as individuals on alone.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like Wu-Tang.
Mm-hmm.
Their like philosophy of like how they've gone by art, and like even when they've decided to take like separate pathways of art, like they've always made sure as a team they still come together and figure out ways to plug in to help them with their individual goals. Like I feel like that's how community should be structured
I
in
think so.
general.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you ready
Is this rapid
for the
fire?
rapid fire
Okay. Yeah, I've
questions?
seen this twice now. Okay.
Okay.
I feel like I might be better with rapid fire questions anyway.
Really?
How does rapid fire work? Am I on a time limit?
I like
You should
to
so have a
encourage
buzzer
not
that.
to, no, because I would flip out if it was me on the other side. I'd be like, but no. But
Can we
it
do another
isn't.
episode where I interview you?
Sure. Why is everyone asking me that? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's something your younger creative self would be proud to see you in now? And it doesn't need to be like right now, but if younger Chris was sitting with you and asked you all of these questions, like, oh, you're a grown up now, and da 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 da, like, what would you say to little Chris that would make him be like, wow, you're just so cool. I'm so proud of you, or us, of me?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say that, we're making a living doing this. Like we are full time doing our hobby, like day in and day out. When I first got started, I thought working in film was like getting into the NBA. I thought it was something that you just don't do unless you're connected or just extremely lucky, like it's a lottery system. Then I found out, no, it's very much so a thing that you can find your way in. Like you can get started entry level, work your way up, or you can find honestly hundreds of different ways to get into the film industry. So I think I would just like be really proud to tell myself that like, yo, we made it. This thing that you thought was a million in one shot. One, it's not, but two, even if it was, bro, you're there.
And
Like
three,
that.
you're so good at it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we're pretty nice with it. So
Aw, that's so cute. Is there a piece of advice or reflection you would offer to someone in a creative winter or an uncertain phase of their art?
So that's interesting because this is one of those situations where you have to learn how to take your own advice. Because I would say I am in one myself. I got into this line of work because I really wanted to direct. I really wanted to tell stories. And I've supported a lot of stories, but I haven't in recent years really pushed and pursued one of my own, like getting it off the ground. There's been bursts where I really tried and came close, but then through one thing or another not working out, I kind of like put it on the back burner, like a couple different project ideas that I've had. So I guess the advice I might give to myself or to someone else in a similar position, and I guess I'm gonna have to do my best to follow this after this, is that there's really no more gasoline or no stronger gasoline and pressure like taking that first step. Because or like it's like if you know anything about cars and engines, it's this. Of course, I know you don't.
Sorry, we had a sports analogy. Now we have a car analogy.
Yeah, I'm a guy. It's whatever. um, it's your starter. It's like it's this thing that it takes a lot of energy and a lot of electricity to like kickstart this much momentum and energy. But once you do it, things run a lot smoother. It doesn't take as much energy. Everything's kind of like has momentum going, and it's able to maintain itself. So for me, every single time I've been in this position in the past, usually when I'm like speaking of writer's block right now, just writing the first page, it's so difficult to sit down and do, but when you do it, everything else just flows afterwards. And so it's even if it feels so forced and just inauthentic, just starting and doing it, like brute forcing it and making it happen, it's not going to be this battle uphill the entire way through. It really is just that first step. It's that first part of the process. Once you get through that, you'll find that like things are going and you can keep it up. It's not like, oh, I have to keep pushing this hard just to get it started. So
I saw this quote a couple of days ago and I saved it in my phone or a passage. And I may or may not keep this in the podcast, but I wanted to share it. Believe in it till it manifests for you, even when nothing seems to be working, even when it feels quiet, even when your faith starts to shake a little. Keep believing, keep visualizing, keep showing up like it's already yours. The universe moves in silence before it reveals its magic. What you can't see is still unfolding. What feels delayed is simply aligning. Your belief is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. Hold the vision a little longer. It's already on its way to you. Where do you feel most creatively alive right now?
with my daughter, um, I've heard about other parents living through their children, and this is a variation of that. It's not the, oh, I just want to be a football player, therefore you got to go play football or whatever. When I say I live through my children, I'm more so live through her eyes, in my opinion. And so seeing the way that she sees the world, everything is so fresh and new to her. And it's kind of renewed that in me because I feel like I just want to relate so hard to be like, wow, this really is your first time seeing a bird or God, whatever, anything. Like it's just, she just has so much joy exploring and picking up things. I mean, even just walking around the house, the stuff that she picks up, I'm like, one, please drop that and put it back. But also, two, you literally don't know what that is. Of course, you want to pick it up and put it in your mouth and figure it out. And so I think for me, like just seeing that much curiosity and experimentation, I don't know, it really keeps that alive in me.
It's one of the reasons why I love working with kids.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you for stepping out of being behind the camera and joining into the circle today. Your insight on creativity and collaboration and pivoting and all of the things has been such a reminder that art isn't just about what we make, it's about how we connect while we're making it. And to everyone listening, thank you for being a part of this conversation. If today's episode spoke to you, I invite you to share it, to comment, to check out my book, Create Space.
Hell yeah. Shipping now.
Until next time, take a moment to breathe, to create, and make space for what's coming next. Wait, which camera is?
The one on the stand there is the wide one, but
Which one's
before we
both
let
of
you
us?
off the hook, the one right there on the stand,
Okay.
can I ask you a question?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And you just maybe edited earlier in the episode.
Ooh, yep. No, let's do it.
Yeah, I don't feel like I got to ask you anything.
The broken record.
As you know, we both worked together and we've had some experiences with it, both really good and then sometimes really bad and difficult. Well, I wouldn't say really bad, but just difficult. How have you felt learning to collaborate with me and some of the ways I can be, both as a partner and just a collaborator, even outside of our relationship.
Well, for me, I feel like at the very beginning when things were really challenging, despite how challenging it went, how tense it could have got, it gotten, and also just like how discouraging it felt to like have this expectation in your head and then it doesn't meet. I took it as a challenge. I always had faith that like, or I think a part of it is also just me being like a little stubborn and just competitive. I'm like, no, we're gonna get this right. We're gonna figure it out. And at the time, because we were also dating, figuring out just our communication skills, it made things a little bit more challenging. But over the years of getting closer to one another, understanding each other as individuals first, and then going back to collaborating, I feel like there's been more of an ease because we see each other as collaborators and we
Hmm.
see that we not only have the same common goal, but when there is a conflict or we're not meeting each other where we're at, that there's just simply a misunderstanding. Um, I'm trying to recall the full question. But now I don't see things like that, but I do know what your quirks are, and I do know also what mine are
Yeah,
because I wasn't aware of that. And so I think having that sense of awareness kind of makes it fun, even when we're tired and we're chugging through and trying to pivot. But like, I feel like we find ways to make it fun.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's one of the things that we've gotten through our work as a couple, and
yeah.
our different, I guess, conflict resolution skills there. Different conflict or different, skills there is just understanding what the intent behind certain actions are.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really does stop a lot of misunderstandings and confrontations. It's just going, okay, is this person meaning to come across this way? Are they meaning to kind of like step on my toes or
Mm-hmm.
make me feel smaller? Um, and so I think once we started like seeing where each other was coming from, that really helped us out.
To add to that, because I agree, to add to that too, is that there are also times where we know each other's intent, but our goal isn't necessarily the same.
Mm,
So like when we first started these projects and the the verbiage that was used was like, well, if we want this to be the best, or I just want this to be better, I just want this to be great. Like if we really want to elevate this, and I had to find a way to one, process what you were saying, know what your intent was, and articulate myself to give you the understanding that like the whole point of create space isn't to be this high production, everything is polished from the get-go. And even if it was, that's not the way that like my creativity flows. I don't thrive in that type of environment. And so I think once well, sorry, I'm getting off track. That's an example too of when our goals aren't the same, but our intent is. But either way, we know each other better and we also know how to communicate with each other better. And then also, just knowing how we are as creatives, it's helped create a balance because even in those moments, I'm like, I'm still open-minded and curious to see what's going on up here to see how we could try to do that or like how we could meet in the middle. And it doesn't feel like a compromise. It feels like another like collaboration, another challenge. Like, let's see what that looks like. Like, why not?
right.
So, and then I learned stuff and I love learning. So
Yeah,
that's
you
fun
do.
too.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree.
I feel like we balance each other out.
Yes.
That's my answer, my long answer.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, our light did finally die in the back there.
Mm.
So I guess that's our little alarm.
Well, you cut off my outro.
I thought you completed the outro.
I did, but then we did the whole record scratch.
All right.
So now you got to do my outro.
Well, guys, this has been Create Space. Wait, sorry. Well, guys, scratch. Well, guys, this has been another circle conversation. I hope you've enjoyed listening to us. If you felt inspired by anything you've heard,
Question mark?
by the book, to further be inspired, and shameless plug, there's also a journal, shameless plug for her. There's also a journal to accompany that book. So, you can write about all the things that you're hearing. Oh,
Well,
what?
the journal
Is that it? That's the journal. It's here?
It's a quarterly journal. So every
I think you
year,
covered up the front page. You showed it. Nice. There we go.
okay, every year, for the past 4 years, I'm type A. So I have a trifold poster that I will put together, and I have quarterly goals for every aspect of my life: financial, personal, relationships, spiritual, health, fitness, all of those things. And it takes me about literally almost a full month to plan it out, and I plan out my whole year. It's not super rigid, but it's a good way for me to like visualize what I want to do and hold myself accountable. But anyways, I use that to inspire this because why not? But also it ties into just Create Space. So it has like creative flow pages for like doodling and whatnot, affirmations, but then it also is just a guide to plan out your quarter. So yeah, and then there's like some self-help tips at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advertising.
Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, be sure to like, share, comment. I hope you carry on throughout your day today something that has inspired you.